All right. Okay, as Steve said, I'm Brenda Hawley. I'm with MPMA. As of 2 weeks ago, I was the membership and events person, but I'm pretty excited to share that I've moved over to the marketing and communications person. And I'm excited to kind of work in more of that space with MPMA. There's a lot of great stuff happening here, and you're gonna start hearing from us more. So, as far as our toolbox talk today, I'm very excited about this topic. I think we are all hearing about AI and data analytics. I think we're all aware of the ways AI and analytics are used when we're clicking on the internet and for things that we're buying, and that you can tap on the microphone and quickly talk your text into your phone. But how does it help us with precision manufacturing? We have two members of MPMA today with us who are going to share with us more information on AI and data analytics and how it can be applied to precision manufacturing. First, we have Keith Schoolcraft with a couple of gurus with us. Keith is CMMC certified. He's a registered practitioner, owner, and chief executive guru of a couple of gurus. Keith holds multiple industry certifications. He started his first technology company at the age of 17. He later conceived a bright idea for a fun company, that would succeed and become a couple of gurus, which was officially started in 2002. Keith puts his experience as an engineer and a small business owner to work for his clients. Keith will be speaking on office applications using Microsoft AI Copilot, covering Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Agent, and Studio. We also have with us is Vivek Saxena with Factory Twin. Vivek is the founder and CEO of Factory Twin. He has worked in the executive up to CEO level as an advisor with OEMs, tier 1 and tier 2s, private equity firms, as well as startups. He helps factories harness their superpower data. Factory Twins brings the benefit of advanced data analytics and digital twins to manufacturing so they can reduce complexity in their operations and make better decisions faster. It is designed to be affordable for even small and medium-sized manufacturers. The high ROI, secure, and highly intuitive data analytics platform Factory Twin supercharges any shop's performance while also improving employee fulfillment. Double-digit improvements are a norm using these predictive and prescriptive analytics. Vivek will be covering shop applications, AI for improving shop metrics like throughput, profitability, cash flow, and delivery. So, did someone have a question?
Hi.
Oh,
I'm good.
Oh, hi, Pat. Anyhow, so as we go through the presentation, Steve mentioned that we will probably wait to ask questions after both folks have presented. You can put your questions in the chat, or feel free to, we will unmute you towards the end, and you can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions that way. So as I mentioned, I'm pretty excited about this. And Keith, I think we will let you take it from here.
All right. I'll share my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to be speaking in particular. Most organizations are running on a 365 Microsoft 365 platform, and so what Microsoft has started to do with their Copilot license is integrate AI into all of their different applications. You will see if you haven't changed your startup page, you'll notice that in your web browser now you'll have a little icon. When you click this icon, it brings you to a Copilot interface. When you do not have a Copilot license, you will only see the option here for web. any type of searching or querying that you're going to do, that's all going to go out to the public web. When you add the Copilot license, you get a couple of things. One, you have this enterprise data security that lets you know that your searching your content's going to be protected. When you have this work button now, the 365 Copilot license. It does use the GPT engine, but behind the scenes, Microsoft's made a lot of investment in that. The it's going to be aware of all of the data that is in your environment from a 365 perspective. So from your email, from your SharePoint documents, from your OneDrive documents. So all of the things that you have access to, Copilot is going to be aware of those things. So um, uh, one of the ways as we started to explore this a little bit more, I started to think of using Copilot as kind of like an assistant. And some of the things that you would ask for an assistant, for example, are phone numbers. So I can simply ask Copilot, give me the phone number for a couple of gurus. Um, and it's going to go and search our environment and look for those phone numbers. I could specify a person's name. I could specify, in email. It's really good at. It's almost more. It's really a email um, that you're looking for that maybe was from like 2 weeks ago. Find my email about our um, and so then it'll contextually go through and find those documents, and it'll give you uh, links straight to um, uh, those emails. So I can click on that, brings it up, logs you straight into um, Outlook on the web, and you can get access to that email very effectively. It's often quicker at finding this information than doing it through Outlook. The chat window is contextually aware of how you're using it. So until you hit new chat, it'll keep in context whatever set of questions that you're using. We'll come back to this here. We'll start a new chat. Let's go over to PowerPoint here. Some interesting things you can do with PowerPoint. You can create a presentation from AI in PowerPoint. And you can also reference a file to do that if you like. So I can say create a presentation about AI for manufacturers. And then it's going to give me an outline to start from, and I can tell it to generate the slides for me as well. And it'll go through here and create the slides. It is going through, there is some processing that's going on the web. And then here you go. You've immediately have, I'm going to say keep this. You immediately have a presentation that you can start from. And then you can add additional content, but you can imagine, and you can reference your own, you could specify a source file as a knowledge base as well. Um, if you're in doing a large presentation for a proposal, we'll minimize this. In Word, um, again, being contextually aware, let's say you have a new job position, new job opening. So let's write a new sales position, use the sales templates that we have in SharePoint. This position will be for a sales associate. And because and it's going to write this description based on what we have. Now I could say, okay, this looks pretty good, but you know what? I forgot to add our values. Please add our company values. And so then it goes and adds our company values in there. One thing that this makes you realize is the data that's in your environment. If you're keeping old data around, it can potentially use that as a source of reference. So you have to think about current data and perhaps even purging old data that you wouldn't want AI to reference. I'll use email here. You can draft a meeting agenda. We are doing for MPMA on AI. And agenda for me. And then it'll give you some suggestions here, some bullet points. You can say keep it, discard it, that kind of thing, and then send this meeting out. We'll discard that. We'll go to mail. We'll say new mail. One of the things I get periodically asked to do as an owner is especially for interns, is write a letter of recommendation. So I always sometimes never know where to start. So hey, I'm gonna have Copilot do it for me. Write a letter of recommendation for Zender. He did a great job coming in on time. Had great technical skills. Shows to be very promising. Okay. So it then will write a more full recommendation here that I can then review and take a look at. The other thing that Copilot does is you have this window right here. There's a coaching aspect of Copilot. And so it's going to analyze this email, ironically, that was written by it, but and it's going to say, give me recommendations on the tone of this how is this email coming across. Sometimes what we've done in the past is if you're writing a sensitive email, you might have a colleague or, kind of review this, say, hey, how is this coming across to you? Does this seem right? This coaching aspect will do that for you. It'll give you the sentiment that, of how it's coming across and give you suggestions, and then maybe even how you can make it more clear. You can apply these suggestions, or discard them. But we found that this is helpful a lot. When it comes time, I gave the example of setting a meeting agenda. When it comes time for a meeting, the one of the things that you can do is when you do your Teams meetings is have it record that meeting transaction. If you're a user that also has um, uh, Great Plains Dynamics CRM, you can then also add the, let's go to Teams here first, um, the Copilot for Sales. So Copilot for Sales will it'll integrate with Dynamics CRM, and then it'll give you, your meeting summary. I'll open this summary. Um, we've got the transcript of the meeting. Here we have, how did the meeting go? So was the meeting positive, neutral, negative? You get that sentiment. Here's any of the mentions, the details, and uh, so on and so forth. You'll get at the end of the meeting as well, you'll get a meeting recap that you can use as well. So let's see, we're at Teams. Let's talk a little bit about Copilot agents. So agents are a way to extend Copilot's capability. And there are all kinds of agents. So I'll show this agent first. We use a product called Confluence Cloud. It's an enterprise grade wiki. So I have tied our Confluence Cloud instance into Copilot. And I'm able to then query it so I can say, show me our latest workstation setup. And this is where in our Confluence wiki, we will store procedures, um, so then it's querying it and it's finding those, and then again I can click on those spaces, and it'll bring me right to our in our case our workstation setup process. So it's jumping outside of the 365 environment to do that. You can add and get more agents and connect more connectors into the 365, and this list continues to grow every time I go in here. This is just a sample of all of the other applications and integrations that can be done with Copilot. You can start to configure your own agents as well. And that's where you get into Copilot Studio. So copilotstudio.microsoft.com. You in I created a little support bot agent that can be queried for questions on technical support type issues. You can feed the agent what its knowledge sources are. So in this example, if I go over to the knowledge, right now it's configured with a lot of different public websites as its knowledge sources. This you could point it to internal sites as well. The I can add a knowledge source. It could be SharePoint. So you could, for example, create an agent that would be an HR agent that would reference your current HR documentation, so people could ask about it there. In the advanced side of it, you can tie into Salesforce, Azure SQL, the Azure AI search stuff, ServiceNow if you're a ServiceNow provider, Zendesk. Again, this is more advanced, more preview, but just to show you that this is here and that you can configure agents to do different things, including start having some actions that they could take. Um, and the other thing that Copilot is uh, can do is it can write code. So there's a lot of things that will use Python code, Fusion 360 being one of them. So I'm going to go to my recent queries here, and I'm just going to ask Copilot for a Fusion 360 script that creates a diesel fuel tank that is 40 inches by 12 inches by 6 inches with 1.5 inch thick walls. And then it then spits out the Python code for that. And then it's and then you can follow these steps. Now, again, earlier I said it's contextually aware, so I could ask it to add a baffle to it. So it's rewriting the code to add a baffle to this design. You can save these things. So I can say, I'm going to copy this and I can use it elsewhere. Hey, you know what? I want to edit this in Pages. And there's this Pages functionality. When you do that, um, it's uh, it's like a way of saving it. The other thing that I like that Copilot does is it gives you suggestions down here of other things that you might want to do. You could start asking it questions about what are the requirements for caustic chemicals, or what, getting deeper into the requirements on that side. Um, just to show you the pages over here. Um, here is different things that you can do. I had Copilot write me a mutual non-disclosure agreement. I just said, write me a mutual non-disclosure agreement, and it spit it right out. The other thing, and the last thing that I'd like to show is you can have it. We're going to go to a new chat window here. You can have it extract data. So let's go to Files, and then I'm going to use this AI Readiness Playbook. Let me show you this playbook, by the way. So it's a pretty lengthy document here. There's a lot of data in here, and which is great, but maybe I just want to pull a subset of the data out. So in that case, pull out all of the statistics in this file. So it's going and pulling out all of the data that was in this file in a statistical format. The AI is also good at rearranging and organizing data. So let's put this data in a table. So if you were perhaps responding to an RFP, you could quickly organize and reorganize data. You can actually do the same thing with when someone sends you, they do a reply all and you have like 20 email addresses. And let's say you want to put those email addresses in a table, you just copy and paste all the email addresses, dump it into here and tell it to put this data in a table for you. And you'll have your email addresses nicely organized in a table. So same data in a table, you can copy it, edit it in Pages. And I think I am at my time. Lastly, again, things to factor in is the AI is using your data. The licensed version of this is using the data in your 365 environment and enclave. So what you have access to, it will have access to. So if you start opening this up to employees, you'll want to think about what level of access do they have. There's been some history in IT where when we set up a new user, um, what just give this person the same permissions as the old person, and not realizing the level of permissions perhaps that person had access to. So, so the way the security in your environment is a factor here. If you have accounting data or HR data in a public space, those are some things that you're going to want to test out before you completely roll this out everywhere. Um, the um, and then just making sure I think I know Vivek's going to go into this, but the quality of your data is a factor here, right? If you have a lot of old data, it's going to find it just as easily as it'll find the new data. So you may have to give it contextual awareness that you're looking for this version or this date range, this segment. Anyhow, this is the front office, and I'll turn it over to Vivek
Oh, yeah.
for the back.
Yes, thank you, Keith. That was great information. Yes, and I was going to say I will transition over to Vivek and let him kind of start getting into making your work have better data to have better results with your AI. So, Vivek,
Sure.
are you?
Thank you, Brenda.
Yes.
Can you, hopefully you can see my screen and the PowerPoint I'm trying to show here.
Yep.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, delighted to be here. And thank you, MPMA, Steve, and Brenda for organizing this. Just to give you a brief introduction, we are based in Hopkins and solely focused.
Uh-oh.
Vivek, you froze for us.
Operations executive, scientists, and software developers.
Hey. Vivek,
I've been.
can I interrupt for a second? You maybe a few minutes.
Okay.
We lost
Can
you
you
at
hear me? Oh,
yeah.
but can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm gonna start again. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. So we're based in Hopkins. We're solely focused on digital and AI in production, improving shop floor and support functions using digital and AI. Why should you listen to me? I've been on various functions in operations, from shop supervisor all the way to CEO of an aircraft company. And I've seen the enormous opportunity that exists in using shop floor data. Currently, there's all these studies out there that show that less than 10% of data in a factory is actually used to improve the factory. is just sitting there. Nobody knows how good it is. Nobody knows what is sitting there, how to utilize it, particularly for small and medium-sized companies where you don't have an army of engineers or IT people. So that's where we come in. So I'm going to go over a brief presentation on how you can use digital and AI to improve your shop floor and support functions, and then maybe augment it if the technical glitches don't prevent me from showing you a couple of videos on how you can use digital twin technology to run experiments on your computer before you actually implement any changes to your shop floor. And then finally, I'll also give some examples of our customers who have used these technologies to show significant, these are step improvements. You're not talking incremental 1, 2, 3% improvement. We're talking 20%, 30% improvements in shop metrics that matter, things like throughput, profitability, cash flow, on-time delivery performance, etc. So with this, I'm going to go to my next slide. And most manufacturers, even small and medium manufacturers, have already taken a few steps in their digitalization journey without really knowing how they're going. So I'm going to show you a very simple visual. If you look at this operations complexity on y-axis and operations insight on the x-axis with descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics as 3 frontiers. Some things that a lot of companies are doing today is machine monitoring. You apply a sensor to a machine, you want to see what the speeds and feeds are, whether the machine is running or not, or even looking at the health of the machine over time. So that's an application which has some predictive elements to it, but it's a very niche application, so it doesn't deal with a lot of operations complexity. Then you have a lot of companies that use custom dashboards that you're using from ERP, downloads of how the things are doing, how the last month went, what were your revenues, what were your on-time delivery, what were your metrics, and so it's a static dashboards looking at ERP system. So obviously that's descriptive, telling you as is, but not what's predictive and what's going to happen into the future. Then you have generic analytics tools, which are becoming very popular, like Power BI and Tableau, where people can go and actually do. And now there's a Copilot that comes with Power BI also, where you can do a lot of analytics there. But again, it can deal with significant operations complexity, but not very strong when it comes to predictive and prescriptive analytics. And part of the reason is that AI technology itself is very bad at forecasting. It's very bad at math, and it's very bad at forecasting. Generative AI is, some people would describe it as some kind of a very powerful autocorrect. It can generate a lot of text. It can format, reformat, and it's very good at it. But forecasting is not very good. I would recommend for people who are trying to go on the AI path to read a book called AI Snake Oil, written by a Princeton professor, that talks about how vendors in AI world are selling things which really are not doing what they claim to do. And that's because the predictive forecasting capability of AI is nowhere near where what is desirable. And I'll show you that some of the technologies we have can actually do way better than some of those things. They do use artificial intelligence and machine learning and neural networks, but not necessarily the generative AI aspect of it. And then you have ERP modules. You have APS, advanced planning and scheduling modules that come with various ERP systems. The problem with them is they're specific to that ERP system, and they can do certain things, but not overall operational insight. Compare that and contrast that with digital twins, which is a live model of your factory on your computer connected to the data streams. So as parts are moving on the shop floor, as parts are being delivered, purchase orders are being created, all that is reflected in this computer model, and you can do scenario analysis and experiment before you actually implement something on the shop floor. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example which will be very easily understood by shop people. So I'm worried about bottlenecks on the shop floor. Where am I going to experience a resource constraint, whether it's machines, whether it's operators? How do I know how to deal with it? So I'm going to share a quick, I'm going to come out of this and share a video. And Brenda, let me know if there's a problem with share sound, and there we go.
We're seeing the PowerPoint still. Oh, here it comes.
Okay, so this is a video that helps you understand. Actually, this is the wrong video. I'm going to go. different video. Okay, can you see this video? Which says long-term capacity planning.
Factory Twin's sales and operations planning module
Yeah.
strengthens and automates
Can you
the
hear it too?
factory's long-term
Yes,
planning
yes.
processes.
Brilliant.
Rapid scenario analysis allows users to build complex what-if scenarios. When combined, users can compare long-term planning strategies. Let's explore a bottleneck mitigation use case. Start by identifying periods of red.
So this is a simple way, a heat map to show where your bottlenecks are. So on the y-axis, you have all your resources, whether they are labor resources or machine resources. And on the x-axis is time. So imagine you are in January 2024, and you are looking ahead 18, 24 months to see where your bottlenecks are likely to be. And this demo is going to show you how to handle that.
These areas indicate a bottleneck. We can see two issues with this factory. In spring of next year, Factory Twin is predicting a bottleneck across many resource groups. We can also see that this CNC operator group is chronically constrained throughout the next year and a half. Let's focus on mitigating the CNC operator group bottleneck using rapid scenario analysis. First, we'll experiment with a brute force method of bottleneck mitigation. Start by creating a new simulation. Add one more CNC machine to the Minneapolis factory. Choose the date it would become available to production. Next, hire 3 new CNC operators for the Minneapolis factory. Choose their hire date. Each operator will be assigned to a different shift. Save and build this simulation. Compare the baseline simulation with the brute force scenario. When we compare the baseline factory with the brute force scenario, we can see that the CNC group is no longer constrained. Adding new resources comes at a high cost, so we may want to explore other options. Next, we will try a more cost-effective approach using existing resources. Let's go back to the original state of the factory. Notice how the saw labor group is consistently underutilized. Additionally, we can investigate the demand drivers of CNC utilization. Notice how there are 3 customers' demand driving the utilization. Create another simulation. First, cross-train the underutilized saw operators for CNC tasks. Then, level load demand for the customers driving CNC utilization. Adjust line item due dates to smooth out the demand spikes. Lastly, add overtime to each shift. Save and build this simulation. Compare the baseline factory with this cost-effective scenario. With this method, we've eliminated the CNC bottleneck. Both of these scenarios resolved the CNC bottleneck. However, the cost-effective scenario is more practical and affordable than the brute force scenario.
So you saw that you can do experiments, you can do very, very complex scenarios to actually see how you can improve your factory's operations without having to hire people or get new machines. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here, and here we are. So that's an example of bottleneck mitigation. This is, you can do all kinds of experiments, all the strategies that people already know on the shop floor. But instead of doing back of the envelope and getting hurt, getting affected by it when it comes, and you're already behind, you can do early planning by do those experiments and training people or using these strategies in a manner that is going to be cost effective. So there are 2 ways AI and digital can help a shop floor. That was, I gave you an example just to give you a flavor of a use case, but you can improve productivity and job satisfaction of shop support staff. You can imagine in a reasonably complex factory, you have multiple sources of data sitting in ERP, Excel sheet. By the way, everybody has an Excel sheet and they have it in their drawer. They only trust that. They don't even trust ERP system. So you have all these data sitting somewhere and you have to make sense of it. And you have to be able to answer questions. And there are a lot of low value add, mundane, repetitive, offline tasks which from our experience, and there are published studies out there, show that 20% to 50% of people's time, and when we're talking people, we're talking about buyers, planners, schedulers, sales and marketing people, analysts, supervisors, engineers, quality personnel, are just trying to make sense of what to do and where to get the right data. And they have tickets going to the IT guys, download this data for me or that data for me. And nobody has a complete view, a single source of truth, and how different functions interact. So one of the best things that digital twins do using AI and digital is actually cleanse the data, aggregate the data, and give you a single source of truth. So from there, you can go and understand what's going on. And when you have a question from customer, supplier, internal queries, you don't have to go around to the shop floor or call somebody who you think knows it, a first shift supervisor who seems to have all the knowledge, or a planner or some experienced guy that knows everything about it. Chasing parts, by the way, getting ready for every meeting takes a lot of time. Production meeting, people download these Excel sheets, and by the time they're printed out, they're already obsolete because parts are moving on the shop floor. People do inventory meetings, S&OP, sales and operations planning meeting, operations review, long-term plan, short-term plan. All that is transparent, push button, readily available to you, including things like value stream maps, which you used to take weeks of hours of effort to put yellow stickies on the wall. All that is automated. So I'm going to give you now an example of video of a bill of material explorer. We call it know your shop and know your parts, because that's first thing that people have confusion about. What components go in what. If you have reasonably complex bill of material and routings, nobody knows what really is going on in the shop, or some people do and most of the people don't. So here is a good way, an example of using digital twin to help you with that. So again, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Here, options. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, good. So here we go.
Factory Twin's Bill of Materials Explorer shows you the BOM trees for every part made or bought in your shop. In this depiction, blue nodes are purchased parts, and red nodes are finished goods. Clicking on a part gets you everything you need to know about it. Let's start with a finished good part. Factory Twin's on-demand value stream map is based off of historic work order data. See a part's percent value add ratio and identify opportunities to improve lead time in a matter of seconds. Analyze the Pareto and spread of historic production times for each step in the route. Particularly high or variable distributions are great opportunities for improvement. Investigate the part's future demand patterns to see if level loading is possible, and see what future bottlenecks will affect this part's delivery. Next, let's investigate a purchased part. Select a part of interest. Review current data gaps related to the part. Addressing critical gaps is crucial for data health and insight accuracy. Track the historic delivery performance of the material's various suppliers. Observe how the material's unit cost has changed for each supplier, and compare unit costs if there is more than one supplier. You can do future planning for each purchase part by understanding the consumption points and order points based on lead time. This also gives you future inventory exposure. To learn more about how Factory Twin's BOM Explorer can...
So that was another use case telling you about how to get information regarding your parts. And so there are hundreds of use cases like this. If anybody's interested and have any specific pain point, we can send them a demo video. So that's one way to improve productivity and job satisfaction of shop support personnel, by eliminating low value add, mundane, repetitive offline tasks and let people do what they were hired to do. And then the second way you can use digital to improve your shop is by improving shop metrics by double digit. I'll give you a couple of examples from our customers to show those massive KPI improvement. So as I mentioned before, in order to do this, to apply AI and digital, the very first thing is you have to aggregate all sources of operations data, which may be sitting in PDF files, Word documents, ERP, MES, Excel sheet, even in people's tribal knowledge in people's brains. And how do you capture that and aggregate that? Now, one of the places where generative AI is very helpful is where the large language models are good at reading stuff from unstructured data like PDF and Word documents. In fact, we are working with a customer in California right now, south of LA, where the shop was run on Word documents of all things, not even Excel sheets. So we had to go and train a large language models to be able to convert that Word document data into structured data, which could then be uploaded to a new ERP system they're getting. And then you aggregate all this data. You got a single source of truth, and then you have to do data cleansing. One of the things that people don't realize that if you're going to use digital or data, having confidence in data is not only imperative, it's also very time consuming. And usually a data analytics project can take about 50% of its time in just understanding and building confidence in the data. So we have built some automated tools. There's one called Factory Validator, which goes into all operational sources of data and checks for gaps and consistencies. And it does it automatically. So that's a one-of-a-kind product. No other software company I've ever heard of has that for manufacturing. But it's a very good way and very useful tool for our customers to not have to go and check everything, one at a time, where you have thousands and thousands of fields to fill out. So we use that data cleansing, and then we apply analytics and AI to get the insights. So that's the sequence of things. First, you have to understand where all the operational data is sitting. How do I aggregate it to make into a single source of truth? Then do cleansing of data, check and build confidence in the data, and then apply it to get benefits as far as shop metrics are concerned. Now I'm going to give you a couple of examples of our customers and the huge improvement they have seen by using data analytics. So here's one customer. It's a Michigan customer with 3 factories in the state of Michigan. And they wanted to implement SIOP, which is Sales, Inventory, and Operations Process. Some people also call it Sales and Operations Process. And the reason was that they were always reacting to situations, like many shops do. And they wanted to be able to understand long-term where their issues are going to be in terms of bottlenecks, in terms of supplier performance, supplier planning. And once they implemented that, within a year of using it, they reported 15.6% improvement in throughput without adding resources. And that's critical. Without adding resources, 15.6% throughput improvement. Obviously, you can see it's going to have huge impact on profitability and on-time delivery also. But that's one example of how big improvements can be had using data analytics and AI. Another customer, this one is in Oklahoma, making Boeing airplanes, flaps, and slats. They showed 30% improvement in inventory reduction and cash flow, therefore, improvement. And you can imagine that's a huge number. So this company was about $30 million revenue company. And they used to carry, on an average, about 10 to 15 million in inventory, including WIP. And so that was all that cash flow tied up. But by doing experiments, optimizing the flow, using the dynamic scheduler offered by Factory Twin, which is way better than any scheduler that most ERP MES systems offer, they were able to get the right inventory for the right finished goods at the right time and reduce the inventory by 30%. So again, as I mentioned, double-digit improvement, huge improvements are a norm using this technology, particularly if you haven't used it. And that brings me to a very interesting online survey that we can do. If there are manufacturers on this call, they can go to this survey.factory-twin.com or use that QR code. And there are 10 questions asking you that will determine how operationally complex your shop is and how digitally mature your shop is, based on which it'll tell you which quadrant you fall in. And if you are in the red quadrant, which means you have a complex operation and not very mature digitalization in the factory, you can get up to 20% improvement in your KPI. This is based on our customer data, but also published data from national institutes. For example, MXD in Chicago, which is a cybersecurity and digital manufacturing institute. All this data is consistent with what we are finding with our customers. So if you are in the red quadrant, highly complex, less digitally mature, when you start using data analytics and AI, you can get 20% improvement in your KPI, up to 20%. If you are already very high digital maturity in the yellow zone and not very operationally complex, you can get some improvement, but not double digit. If you're on the right top where you are highly complex and you're already got like ERP systems and some data systems and not just running on Excel sheet, you can get up to 10% improvement in KPI. So if you can go on this survey, we have a good sample of factories already. So when you fill in your data and you click and you see where you fall on those quadrants, you'll also see where the peer companies are. So right now we have data there from our previous couple of webinars, and there are about 40 factories, various sizes, which are on that rubric, and you can see where you fall and what kind of improvements are possible for you. So that's basically what I have, and I welcome any questions. I hope a couple of things I was able to emphasize that you can take with you. One is that for manufacturing, which is a highly complex function as opposed to marketing, as an example, or finance, the number of variables and the integrity of the variables that is input to any digital model or AI model is very critical. So understanding that is very important. Do it automatically or manually, whatever you're able to do, but you cannot trust an output from an analytics function unless you actually have good data. So that's one thing I hope you take with you. Secondly, that the age of digital is here. Large companies and small companies are doing it. As I mentioned, our smallest customer is a 32 personnel shop with $8 million revenue, and they are seeing tremendous benefits by doing this. And our largest customers are billion-dollar companies. So large and small companies are doing it, so don't be left behind, and let us know if there's any way we can. Thanks, Brenda. I am done, and welcome Q&A.
Yes. Thank you both. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Vivek. Definitely you can unmute yourselves at this point if you have any questions. Anyone have anything they would like to get more clarification on?
One question I have for you, Vivek. So many manufacturers are small shops, job shops, doing either low volume or not necessarily repetitive work. Do you find, are you able to provide solutions for companies that don't necessarily have that visibility? Like you just talked about, it's the key, the data going in is so key, but if I have no idea what my orders are for 6 months or 18 months out from now, does your software allow them to project kind of based on history and not necessarily knowing long-term contracts and things like that, or high volume production?
Yes. So, that's a great question. And it starts, so everything on, let's say, long-term capacity, for example, depends on the demand forecast. And so your question is, if you are a job shop with a very high mix and low volume product, how do you get the forecasting done? So now there are established methods. So basically AI comes in very handy there. And when I say AI there, I'm not talking generative AI, I'm talking about predictive AI, things like machine learning and neural networks. So you can use those methods to forecast your future demand. And this is the best you can do with the data you already have. So the good thing about all the AI approaches is that it looks at the past and present and predicts the future. And that's the best you can do. So you're not, pulling things out of your hat. But when we work with the smaller customers with high mix, low volume, we actually build a forecasting module, which is a combination of what a machine learning model predicts and what is tribal knowledge. So as an example, I'm working with somebody and they know that there's an order that comes from one of their large customers roughly every 6 to 9 months, and it is large order. And if it's a large order, you can basically divide the forecasting problem into large orders and small orders. And large orders could be more predictive or more tribal knowledge driven, and small orders and more sort of fluctuating orders could be more machine learning driven. And you can then combine and get a forecast. So yes, the answer is it can be done, and it is done.
I love how
All right.
you talk about shop scheduling and all that. And from the AI standpoint, I always just naturally think about the equipment, and then I just love how that addressed the labor side too. Of which is great to hear that I have to hire more labor. Which I don't give a solution for that built into it too.
Yeah, in fact, when it comes to labor, we even go to the granularity of skill level. So if you have 20 machinists in your shop, you only trust 3 of them for changeovers, as an example. So when we talk about the tribal knowledge piece of this single source of truth, we have developed templates when we interview shop supervisor or subject matter experts in a shop. We capture that kind of knowledge. You may have a machine shop where you have a couple of operators that run multiple machines. You may have, like I said, 3 people you trust with changeovers. So you could have a bottleneck without you knowing, because you're planning for machines, not even operators. And now we're saying not just go to operators, go to the level of detail of who is really capable of doing that is specialized work needed on a machine.
Yeah. So I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. It is 12 o'clock. We did record this and we will be sending it out, and I will also send out contact information for our presenters today. So if you do have more questions that you want to ask them directly, we will send that information out with you tomorrow, or ideally tomorrow, maybe later this afternoon. And I think just because everyone has busy calendars, we'll probably wrap up now, and always visit MPMA's event site for different events like this that are happening. We obviously have our larger events, but there are also smaller Toolbox Talks events that we're trying to get a little more involved with specifics to manufacturing. So take a look there if you are looking for more information. And if you have an idea of a topic that you would like covered, please reach out to myself or Steve also. So with that, I want to say thank you to our presenters, and thank you all for attending. And we will send you an email with the follow-up later this afternoon or tomorrow.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Steve.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.